what I understand is a place with an incredible view. Oh, that's nice back there, Austin. Austin Golding, the president and CEO of Golding Barge Line. How you doing this morning, man?
Doing great, Dave. Thanks for having me.
Now, we when we talked about you coming on yesterday, we had a different line of conversation we were going to have originally because the strike was still happening, and now it's been paused. Having said that, the fact that it's paused and not over means we still need to talk about this because this isn't done yet, is it?
No, it's not done. I think the automation piece is going to be a really big part of the negotiations into January. The pay raise, over 60%. I know it's a long-term deal, and that does protect you over a long period of time. I think that was a big hurdle to get over. But the future of what these ports look like, how they're manned, and how they're operated is one that's very, very sticky. If you like free market and you like competition, the technology is going to allow these products to get to our shelves a lot quicker and easier and cheaper. But that does have an impact to the American worker. And how do we resolve that? That's a very, very tough negotiation.
Well, it is a maze to have to work through to try to figure this out. But just let me ask you this question. You're the subject matter expert here. Is there any way to avoid automation? Sooner or later, it's coming, right?
Well, I think, we always look at it in terms of really first and foremost safety. When you talk about can you automate a towboat or could you automate unloading and loading barges? Most of what we move, 90% of what we move is petroleum, oil and gas. Right now, with the options I have, I feel a lot safer having eyes and boots and real people handling those things rather than robot arms and infrared or whatever kind of technology they want to throw at a very complicated process like that. I think as technology goes, at some point, if the technology outpaces human capability, there's going to be things like insurance and other people that are going to force your hand. They're not going to allow you to use a less capable, less safe option to do something they're insuring or they're financing. So when it comes to just doing it to replace somebody to get cheaper, I think in a lot of these applications, safety and true capability is going to be determined not really by the people like me that run the company, but it's going to be determined by the greater support team of the company that has an impact if there's an incident.
Now, the strike has been paused basically until January 15th. That's the date that they've given. They're going back to work until then. I noticed in the build-up to this, back at the beginning of the week, a lot of the news agencies were putting out maps and coloring in all the states that had ports that would be affected. Mississippi was not colored in. So did we even have a dog in that hunt at all?
No, we did not. We didn't have a dog directly near our ports here in that hunt. I will say most of ports, you can look at that map and you can certainly say, all right, in that system within that port in Vicksburg, for instance, there isn't a worker on strike. But most of what we move goes through the port of New Orleans, and there is a strike. There is impact there. Or and most of these ports are totally interconnected. That's the whole game in the port and facility system. You don't just own one and then choke everybody out at your one to get paid. You offer a lot of synergy. You offer a lot of connections, a lot of networking within the ports that you operate and own, and that's what you offer your customers is throughput through other facilities in other towns. So for sure, Mississippi was impacted because a lot of what comes in and out of here was going to have to touch those ports. But locally, no, we did not have a local issue with this per se.
Which is good, but the thing that everyone has to realize, and I think this point was pretty clearly made, is that this kind of strike is the kind of thing that can affect the entire country. The landlocked states, the Midwest, everybody gets affected when something like this happens. What do you think is going to come out of this? How are they going to work this out? Because I agree with you. When I first saw this and I saw what the sticking points were, my first thought as an outsider looking in was, this isn't really about the salary. Yeah, they want more money. It's about the automation and the restrictions on that. And we're seeing, commentary now saying that they've got to work out the proper language. What kind of language do you think, just as a total guess, they might try to work out for this?
I would guess if I was in the negotiations, if I had to totally guess at this, I would say that they're probably not going to fire anybody to put a robot in that spot. But when that person retires, are they going to replace that person with a robot? Probably. I think as we look even in my industry, in the inland towboat and barge industry, we are replacing a very large baby boomer generation that's very experienced with a very inexperienced. I wouldn't call them disloyal, but I would call them transient generation. That they might stay in my industry, they might not stay with my company, and that's a very tough thing because I have tenured people who took a lot of pride in working at one place for a long time through thick and thin. And I'm going to replace those with a generation that by number is smaller and also maybe less tenured and less experienced and less company centric. So that's not a great replacement option. So I can compare that to the automated option. I bet you they have the same. I bet they have the same debate. So I would guess it's going to be based on a replacement basis rather than say a fire and hire type situation.
That makes a lot of sense. And I love that point that you brought out because I've been talking about that for a while. We keep hearing the phrase, which has been used for hundreds of years at this point by business owners, of nobody wants to work anymore. Well, no, it's not quite that simple, because if you've got 100 people and they retire and you've got 60 to choose from to replace them, well, you're going to have openings. There's nothing you can do about that, especially if they keep hopping from job to job like that. Is there any way to fix that, to make the younger generation that's coming in build that sense of company loyalty that we used to have?
I think the key to it, and I've talked to a lot of business leaders around the state that agree, and I've learned this from. I think the key to it is upward mobility. People want to move up. They want to feel like they're part of something that, based on their merit, they can move up. They really resent the fact when merit is not the focus, and there's other reasons people move up. They really enjoy it when their merit and their accomplishments and their hard work does allow them to progress. If you just pay somebody a little bit more money to do the same job year after year and a little bit more money year after year, at some point they're going to get burnt out or lose the passion for their job. If they're challenged with a promotion throughout their career or a new task, it'll keep it fresh. It'll show they're recognized. It'll give them more responsibility. And hopefully the company can learn and benefit from having some upward growth within their company and not just hiring everybody that everybody else is trained. But for those that aren't upward people, that don't have that potential, they're not going to stick around. That's what we've learned. I have plenty of people I can promote, but the people that used to backfill that I could have secondary to those people, those are the people that are transient for me. They know it's not going to work out here, so I'll just go somewhere else. But I would say promotion, number one, upward mobility, and connection. I mean, work-life balance is everything. Let people go pick their kids up from school. Let people not have PTO time taken for home emergencies. Be kind. Be an employer that understands that time is not as important as what you're charging them. Let them go tend to life. Let them have work-life balance within their roles. Be results-based more than process-based. The kids today are all about results, not process. And they'll learn. These people love instructions too, Dave. If you show if this generation, they'll Google it. They'll watch a YouTube video. If you can give them instructions, they'll follow it. My dad, he never stops and asks for directions, and I don't either. But this next generation for sure is going to stop if they haven't already Googled it. So, you got to play to their strengths.
Well, and it sounds to me that, and I'm sorry, I'm older Gen X. I missed the cutoff for boomers by like 2 years. So I'm right. In the border area there. So I know exactly what you're talking about. But it sounds to me like if you can take the right angle, if you can think about it and approach it properly, you have the chance to have something better than you had before if you put that to use. Because what you're describing, it sounds like to me, is you don't give them a chance to survive, you give them something to strive for. And if you do that and you give them all the support that they ask for, they'll stick around. Is that fair?
They will. They will, and look, you have more opportunity to promote now that more people are moving around. So you should have more openings to fill. You should have more opportunity to place people in a forward position. So we've embraced it. It doesn't make it any easier, but it definitely, I think, allows people to know that we're focused on promoting from within. And yeah, you're going to get your raise, but we're looking to move you up. We're looking to advance you in responsibility and ability.
We're headed to the break. Can you stick around through the break for a minute?
Yeah, absolutely.
He's got nothing else to do. He's just running a big company. There's nothing going on. Austin Golding will continue with him next on the Gallo Show. Welcome back. SuperTalk, Mississippi, the Gallo Show. Dave Hughes, Austin Golding with Golding Barge Line. Tell us a little bit, Austin, if you would. You mentioned it briefly in the last segment, a little bit about what you do down there.
Yeah, sure. So we're a medium-sized towboat company. We operate 32 boats. Right now, 27 to 28 of those push oil and gas around the country. We have tank barges that are 30,000 barrels apiece. They're about as big as a football field, Dave. They're 297 feet long by 54 feet wide. And we push 2 to 3 of those at a time around the country with each boat. The Rock is our other segment. It's about 10% of our business. We push that for Warren Paving Company, which is another Mississippi-owned company. Stephen Warren and his group over there, a great friend and a great business partner. So mainly oil and gas, 90% oil and gas, and 10% rock and aggregate and paving material.
And it's funny you say that because, and I'm in Southwest Mississippi, so we're familiar with the oil and gas industry in South Louisiana and along the Mississippi Gulf Coast, so that's not a surprise. I don't think a lot of people would think about ports and boat traffic being used for rocks.
Yeah, absolutely. So most of what we move is out of a quarry in Kentucky. And Warren Paving owns the quarry, and we bring it down, and they have asphalt mixers along the Gulf Coast that they pave with, and they also sell it. And this material, that segment right now is very, very hot. There's a lot of projects going on. There's a lot of road building and road paving going on, and it's been a great sector to be a part of. But you're right, Dave, the oil and gas industry down there, especially over at Chevron Pascagoula, is really underappreciated. The amount of impact it has not only to the Mississippi economy, but the Southeast, United States, and the global economy. Drive by those facilities and see those ships. It is unbelievable the amount of global impact they have. I always like to describe it. We have the best oil and gas kitchen in the world right here in the U.S. It's the cleanest. It's the most efficient. It makes the most high-end products. They bring the source material here for us to make it for the rest of the world. And that's a wonderful thing to have, especially with as environmentally friendly as those guys are down there. I tell you, safety and environmental focus is first and foremost in every one of those facilities' minds. I know they get a bad rap sometimes, but I tell you, they employ a lot of people, and they really care about their community. We're lucky to have them.
Well, considering the amount of oil and gas and other materials that go in and out of the ports and in the boat traffic, you don't hear a lot of reports about bad things happening, which kind of speaks to what you're talking about. Let's find some wood to knock on, Dave. I know. I just ruined everything.
No, you're right. I mean, it's a very, very, very safety-focused industry. I'm envious of the airline industry's record. The way that they measure their statistics as far as acceptable or I wish we had the same zero that we could expect. But look, we know sustainability is a big part of our viability. So we have to be environmentally friendly, and we have to be a safe workplace.
Well, and it does have a huge impact, both in terms economically of the product being moved and the revenue sources there, but for employment as well. How many people do you employ, roughly?
We employ about 350 people right now.
And that's a significant number of people.
It is, Dave. I tell you, my favorite part about it, and I've talked to Gallo about this before. We'll take an entry-level person as a deckhand on the boat. They'll come in making around $60,000 a year. Within a 12 to 18 months, we'll advance them to a tankerman, which is involved with unloading and loading the barges, coincidentally kind of what some of these dock workers do. That job will pay immediately $75,000 to $90,000 a year, depending on your tenure. You go from there, you start learning how to operate the boat, drive the boat. We put you in the steersman program. That usually happens between 5 and 7 years with the company, sometimes sooner. And as soon as you get turned loose as a pilot, you're going to be making between $135,000 and $180,000 a year. I have several guys within that 350 that have done that before they're 30 years old. Several. Even more, they've done it before they're 35 years old. No debt. Now, here's the trade-off, and I'm always very honest about this. You're gone for 8 months out of the year to get to that level. 28 days on the boat, 14 off. But if you're in your 20s and you're trying to come up and you're trying to find a way to gain footing and create a wealth stream that you can raise a family around, it's a great opportunity. A lot of the captains and the wheelmen, when they do get to that position where they can drive the boat, they'll work a 28 on, 28 off schedule. So they're working for a month, they're home for a month. Working 6 months a year and making about 135K is a pretty good gig. And these guys are skilled, very, very skilled. So they're compensated appropriately.
That's fantastic. Austin Golding, enjoyed talking to you. Keep up the good work, and let's hope we don't have to have another conversation in January about the strike. Let's just hope it all gets worked out and we don't deal with it.
Hey, call me back anytime, Dave. Thank you, and all my best.